Hi, it's Kamon Reynolds, and let's talk a little bit more about feeding pollen patties in small hive beetle country. So this is a topic that gets really brushed over quickly by beekeepers, not only in this state but in other places. Now, you can't do that. You can't feed pollen patties. If you do it, it's going to cause the beetles to take over and slime out a perfectly healthy colony. Fiddlesticks, bee poop, all that stuff. You know, there's a way to do most everything, but there are certain rules of engagement that we have to address in order to be able to do it appropriately. So, as you can tell, our bees are going to town on that patty. Now that patty right there probably weighs about maybe a little over a half pound at best. Many times we feed 1 pound patties. This colony is going through a requeen right now, so we're not giving them as much. And it depends on your location. We haven't had good pollens coming in for a while now. We have had pollens coming in, and that's something that you also have to know about, because a lot of the yellow pollen we've been experiencing comes from corn. Hardly has any healthy proteins and fats. So yeah, your bees will bring it in. It looks like, yeah, woo, look at all this pollen, but it doesn't turn into healthy larvae. And because of that, we get fewer bees, and our bees are shorter lived. And on old colonies that have had all spring to sock away tons of bee bread, pollen patties aren't quite as crucial. They are helpful, but for young splits that you just started, they will make the difference between a colony that goes into winter robust and thriving and a colony that goes into winter looking like a 20-mile-an-hour wind at 40 degrees could take it out. I mean, it's the world of difference. When they need it, they've got to have it, or they will start cannibalizing their brood. So what do you need to do to make your pollen patties get eaten quickly, prevent small hive beetles from getting all kinds of larvae down in there? What do you need to do? So there's a couple of different things I'm fixing to show you. First, my preferred method of feeding is when I've got doubles like this. Not everybody uses this style, but I just pop the top box, and I just drop it right in the middle. Now I score it long ways. Let me grab one of these patties. Just hang on. All right. This right here is probably about 3/4 pound, give or take. So I'm going to take this, and before I throw that down, I'll smoke the bees down so I don't crush any, and then I'm going to slice it like so. You know, and the bees can get in there and eat that every time there's space down there. But when I lay that down, if you have a little extra time, you can take a sharp hive tool and then you can poke all the way through so the bees are able to eat it from below and above. I mean, look at all those bees. They're consuming that quick. There's no way small hive beetles have a chance. So the number one thing is getting plenty of access. Whoop, there is a robber bee trying to get into this colony, and those bees are not going to have it. The best defense you can give your colony is a good offense. They need plenty of healthy bees to defend the hive. I don't care what's coming over here. This colony is going to kick their butts. Alright, now check this out over here. This is a little bit different. This is a feeder rim right here. This is a much smaller colony. They're getting probably about a little over 1/4 pound of a patty, a little bit of feed. We'll throw some combs over here before too long, but right now this is a young colony, a young split that we just made, but they're going to be able to eat that patty, and that makes a big difference. Our patties, I don't have stats for you, because it really depends on the pollens that are coming in, how much bee bread they have in the hive, and a couple other factors. But I know with our bees and our summer splits this time of the year, if you don't feed a colony like that, it's going down. It just can't grow. They either just stay right where they're at, or more often than not, they go backwards. And you're just wondering why the colony's not taking off like it did in spring, and that's just because it's not getting the proteins and fats. Here in Tennessee, we start getting good fats in the form of pollen coming in February a lot of times. You get these maples blooming in the yard, there's just bees all in those things. And then hopefully they'll have some bee bread coming out of winter. So these feeder rims really help out, because bees will bully those small hive beetles. They'll push them around. You'll see them, they'll grab them, especially if there's a lot of bee population. Those beetles are just getting bullied all day long. Another thing you need to do is have some type of a trap. Every one of those boogers you can eliminate really helps you be able to put on a bigger patty. Now, a big double deep colony, or a colony like this one right here, Look at that. That was a split I made at the end of the flow. Our flow anyways, which was in early June. They seem to be doing okay. I'm throwing 1 pound patties on that thing, and they're able to eat it from below and above and from the sides. If those beetles get on it, which it's very hard for them to do, then even if they lay their eggs so the bees can get access to those, they're going to haul those eggs out of there. And, you know, so nothing happens. Now, that doesn't mean we don't occasionally get some larvae, beetle larvae, on our patties. It does happen from time to time, usually because we have a lot of experience doing this. We know that this colony can handle this much. This one can handle this much. And like with that colony over there, it had this piece attached to it because they were going through a supersedure. Bees don't always eat the same sometimes when they're going through a supersedure, and plus they're not brooding hard because they don't have a clean laying right now. So we just gave them a little bit less. You can always slice a little bit off the patty, so we kind of, with trial and error, know this colony can handle this much, this one can handle this much, and it takes a little bit of fine-tuning. But I promise you, if you do it and your bees actually need it, it makes a big difference. Now, I get this all the time. Probably will get this one on this comment. People like, well, I just open feed Ultra Bee, and that works perfectly good for me. Well, you know what? That doesn't work here. It might work for you. Fantastic. I wish it worked here. But because we're getting trickles of pollen all throughout our season, it's not enough to sustain a colony, but it's just enough where they won't forage that Ultra Bee. Yeah, I might get 50 bees to hit it. And so you might look at, oh, my bees are working it, so they don't need pollen patties. A good nuke can send hundreds of bees to one of those things by itself. So they need to be hitting it really hard. I'm going to show you this fall when I open feed some of that, when there's a complete dearth after a frost. You won't even hardly be able to see the box. The bees are working it so hard. So that's what it should be like for me with as many colonies as I have in this year. I think I've got 92 in here. We just moved a bunch out too. That's a scary thing. We got to get some more of these out of here. So trap those small hive beetles, keep them low, give your bees plenty of access. Don't give them too big of a patty. Make sure that you kind of keep an eye on your larvae, and just test it, see if how they're eating it. And just because they're bringing in a little pollen, just because they're working your Ultra Bee or whatever type of pollen substitute they're open feeding, try the patties out, see if it makes a difference. I'm having frames of brood right now that are covered on both sides, just like spring. But that's because they're getting a little bit of trickle of pollen coming in, and these patties. Keep in mind that most pollens aren't good enough by themselves. So if you're only getting one type of pollen or even two types, they might not be any good. Might be corn pollen, might be something else that is missing some amino acids. I'm going to turn into Porky Pig over here. I'm not going to try that. That's all, folks. So anyways, thanks for watching our videos. If you have any comments or questions, leave them below.